Welcome to the channel and welcome to my next project, an E38 750i. Short wheelbase, but with lots of extras that are normally reserved only for the long wheelbase, and even then, very rare. Such as the holy grail of all E38 options. Check this out. Rear tables, picnic tables, whatever you want to call them. They're in pretty good shape. And it also has mirrors that usually come with that extra. And a bunch of other things like shades and double pane glass and a whole bunch of other extras that are very nice for the 750. But the car has some issues. The story started when I picked up the car in Poland and drove it to here in Bulgaria. Yeah, it was a fun trip. It was kind of a crazy story, but yeah, the car made it, and it's been sitting for the most part since then. I haven't had time to deal with this project, and now I'm just starting it. The main issue with the car, though, is that it needs a new engine. When I bought it, it had a knock with the engine, and I went through a bunch of troubleshooting. Eventually, found out with a boroscope that the cylinder walls are heavily scored, and that block is just toast. So I decided to buy a used engine. Say hello to my new M73. It comes from a car with low mileage, and it should be in very good shape internally. This engine came out of a facelift car, so the block is the same, the heads are the same, pretty much all the mechanicals are the same, but the fuel injection part is different, so we'll have to reuse the stuff from the old engine. And the wiring harness is different, so I'll have to remove the wiring harness entirely and reuse the one from the old engine. The other stuff that's different is the exhaust manifolds from what I understand, so I'll have to reuse those as well. And some of the cooling stuff here, the water pump is different, the crank pulley is different. All the accessories are different. The alternator on this one, it's water cooled, as you can see, and it's actually missing on this engine, but that's fine. I'll remove the water cooled bracket and I'll reuse the regular one, air cooled, from the pre-facelift engine. But the rest of the stuff is the same, and so this is a good engine with 100 and something thousand kilometers, which is not bad at all. And I've checked the insides of the cylinders, they look good. The only thing is there is some oil flowing through one of the valves, I think, here on this side in this cylinder. When you turn the engine, there's oil dripping from the valve, which I assume is a valve stem seal problem. We'll find out when I open up the valve covers. So I'm going to do a little bit of maintenance work on this engine before I put it in the car. I'm not going to go overboard. I'm not going to do a full rebuild or anything like that, just because I need to, fit into a certain budget. I'm not going to do a rebuild, but I'm just going to refresh this engine, do the valve stem seals, and whatever gaskets and other things need to be fixed or replaced in the meantime while I'm in there. And yeah, I'll just reuse the accessories from the old engine, and that'll be it. Now, the thing with the car itself, though, is that as I drove it, it currently runs and drives fine, but as I drove it, every once in a while it would kind of like almost stall, like the RPM would drop, almost as if something is bogging it down. And I don't know if that's because of the engine itself or because of the transmission or something in the drivetrain. Could be something with the transmission. I think it's the engine itself, but just to be safe, what I want to do now is replace the transmission fluid, see how it goes, and whether it shifts smoothly and so on. Because if I need to replace the transmission, I need to do that while the engine is out, because the way to do it, from what I found out, on forums and stuff, is that the easiest way to take out the engine is together with the transmission. You basically take off the front of the car here, the radiator support and all that stuff, and then the engine just comes out up and out together with the transmission. So if I'm going to be taking out the transmission anyway, I want to make sure that it's working fine, and if I do need to replace it, I want to replace it at this time instead of, you know, doing it separately, because that would be a huge pain in the ass. So yeah, first order of business is to change the transmission fluid, for which I've gotten the original fluid that BMW used. Supposedly it was made by Mobil, and this is the specification. So I got a new filter as well with a gasket and everything for the oil pan of the transmission, and we should be good to go. The procedure seems relatively straightforward. Basically you drain the old fluid, maybe even run the engine a little bit with the drain plug out so that some extra fluid gets out, but not too much, because obviously you don't want to run it without any oil in it. And then take off the oil pan of the transmission, replace the filter that's behind it, and replace the gasket, put everything back in, fill with fluid, warm up the engine and the transmission. If you have a diagnostic tool, look for, I think it's between 30 and 60 degrees or something like that, is the temperature that needs to reach. And you can monitor that with INPA or one of those tools, and then I guess top up the oil, and that's it. Button it up and it should be good to go. So let's try exactly that. All right, the car is up in the air. It needs to be level, obviously, for the fluid to drain properly. And so let's see what we're working with under the car. I did get the chassis washed, by the way, recently from underneath, and so hopefully it's all nice and clean. Let's see. Here's the transmission. There's some oil here. Yep, I can see a drip just underneath. You see that? There is a drip. Okay, let's see if I can replace that. Of course, BMW says this is lifetime oil, except it's not. Eventually, it does need to be changed. So that's exactly what we're going to do now. And this is the fill plug, which seems a little rusty, but should be fine. Actually, I'm going to open the fill plug first. That's generally good advice when changing the oil on a transmission, because if you can't open that, then don't drain your oil. Alright, let's see if that comes off. Well, I had to use a breaker bar extended by a jack handle, but eventually it broke free. So now I can take it off. So let's do that. Okay, now I think it's relatively free. This should be dry when I remove it. Nothing should be dripping from here. Whoa, shit. Whoa. Never mind. Okay. Okay, I guess maybe this was overfilled or something. Wait, no. What? Yeah. Okay. Still dripping. Let me drain it properly from the drain plug into an oil pan and not on the floor. And we'll go from there. Alright, so the drain plug here is a 14mm hex, which I have, but it doesn't fit here because it's hitting the exhaust pipe. So that's not going to work. And so I tried something different. I tried taking this thing out of the socket here. And by the way, don't worry, my car is not just supported by the jack. This is just for extra safety. Right there. Yeah, so I put this piece in here and grabbed it with the correct size wrench, which in this case is an 8mm. I did something like this and then just tapped it with a hammer on this side. Of course, I tried manually first, but I tapped it with a hammer and just got untightened. So this is good. This is hand tight right now, and it's moving. Is there an O-ring here? Looks like there is, and it might stay on the transmission and then shoot out into the oil pan, so I want to take it with the drain plug. Okay. It's pretty black if you ask me. It's not red at all. And this thing, there's a bunch of crud over here. Oh, look at that. Well, that's why the drain plug is magnetic, to collect all that crap. But yeah, this probably hasn't been drained in forever. Or maybe never at all, because it says lifetime. Right there, warning, don't change it, it's lifetime. Alright, let's let this thing drain. Okay, so I'm going to do something a little unconventional here, maybe. I'm going to try to start the engine after the transmission has been drained, in order to get things flowing in there and try to dump as much more additional fluid, transmission fluid, as possible. So I'm gonna leave the camera here recording while I go into the car and start the engine. I'm just gonna keep it running for a few seconds, not much. Obviously I don't want to run the transmission without any oil, so just a few seconds. Okay, well, looks like not much happened, maybe a little bit. I guess I could also start it again and run it through, put it in drive, put it back in park to get some more fluid out. Yeah, okay, I'll start the engine again and just briefly put it in drive and return. Well, I wasn't watching, but it looks like it had maybe some effect, but not huge, so probably not worth doing after all. Anyway, I'll let this drain and then take off the oil pan. Look at how clean this transmission looks. Nice. For a car that's done 300,000 kilometers, this looks pretty good. Look at that. Well, let's get on with it. I guess I need to undo the filter. That yellow thing there is the filter. So I need to undo that and replace it. Actually, before that, I'm gonna clean up the oil pan as well. And then this guy here is a magnet. It's supposed to collect all the crap, and that it did. Look at that. Oh man, nasty. Oh, it's removable, okay. So, I guess I can just clean it up and put it back in. Look at that. Squeaky clean, almost. So now I gotta clean off the edges here where the gasket sits. Just clean it up real quick. Ideally you should be doing this with a razor or a scraper or something like that, but I don't have one handy right now, so I'm just doing it with a knife. And that works fine as well. Just don't do it this way, do it at a very large angle in order not to scrape the actual aluminum. Okay, time to remove the filter. Does it just pull off at this point? Okay. And the transmission looks pretty clean again. Wanted to mention that there is a O-ring here, I believe, that came out with the old filter. So that's good. I will just put the new one in. Here's the new oil filter. And it already comes with the O-ring installed, so I just need to push it up, make sure it slides into place, and would be good to go. Something like this. Okay, how do I get this thing in? It just needs to slide into place. Okay. I put oil on it, so it should be able to slide into place pretty easily. I don't know why it's not clicking in. You're gonna drive it in very lightly. I'm not gonna hammer on it, just to kind of get it in there. Is it on? Okay, removing it again. Oh, come on. Seriously? Okay, I think it's in. Yeah, it's in. It's not wiggling anymore. Yeah, okay. Hopefully. Okay, well. Let me take a look from the other side. Okay. Yeah, I think it is in. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, so let's tighten it now. Of course, with a regular wrench and not with an impact. Okay. Oh, wait, I forgot to replace the gasket. Well, the next step is to clean up the old gasket from the transmission side, and that's a lot harder because it's actually stuck on here, and I have to scrape it off of the whole surface, which is gonna take a while, and it's a really annoying job. Get out. Normally, even if it's hardened, if you kind of lift it up from one side, it's supposed to come off. Kind of like this. Yeah, okay, a little bit. It breaks though, it breaks in small pieces, and then you have to scrape each piece off. Yeah, look, so this broke off. I'm gonna scrape this part. Well, I finally cleaned up the surface here where the old gasket was, with a lot of scraping and then some more scraping. And then, in the meantime, it got cold, so I put on a hat. And then it's time to take a look at the new gasket and put it in. Now, the new gasket, I just noticed, has some really tiny holes here for the screws. The screws don't even properly fit there. Look at the difference. So this is how big the hole is. This is how big the hole is on the gasket, and this is how big it is on the pan itself. The screws don't really properly fit into this thing, so it will be very difficult to align the gasket in a way that these are just exactly correctly centered on each hole, and that the bolt can actually go through. And even then, it doesn't really want to go through. You can make it go in if you turn it, but see how tight it is? It stays there. So I don't know if this was on purpose, but I thought of something. What I could do is use this to actually position the gasket correctly and to position all the bolts in before I put the pan into the car. Check this out. If I do this and just kind of leave it like that, do this with all the screws, then the gasket is going to stay in place. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, this might actually work. I got the gasket in, and it's staying in place, held in by all the screws. The screws are also staying in place, held in by the gasket. Just one note, don't push them in, just thread them in. If you push them in, I did one and it worked out fine, and then when I did the second one, it cracked the gasket. Luckily, it's on the outside, so I don't think it'll leak here, and I'll be fine, I think. But yeah, just don't push them in. Thread them in. Okay, we're ready to put this thing into the car. Oh, wait, no. I forgot the baffle thing. Okay. Okay. Take two with the baffle and the magnet installed. Make sure you don't forget those. Okay, this one's in. I've purposefully left the edge ones a little bit longer or a little bit more threaded into the gasket so that they stick out further and that they are the first ones to actually be screwed in. Prepared this one. Now I can't see anything from here, but there should be one over here. Is it going in? Yep. Cool. Look at that. The gasket is staying in place. All the screws are going in. Perfect. Okay, so everything's buttoned up. The new filter is in, the new gasket is in, all the bolts are torqued that are holding the transmission oil pan. And now the only thing left to do is to fill up the new oil. There's a special procedure for that. You have to fill it up until it starts dripping from the fill hole, then warm up the transmission a little bit, and then top up again. So, and the issue with filling up is that there's no way to pour it from the top like you would like when filling normal oil in the engine. Instead, you have to push it up from the bottom of the oil pan. So gravity is not on your side, so you need something else. There's hand pumps. There's some of the containers of transmission fluid sometimes can be squeezed so that it goes out through a little hose and goes into the transmission. The ones that I have don't have that. So the thing that I've chosen to use is an oil transfer pump, an electric oil transfer pump. Yeah. Smells nasty, just like transmission fluid should. Okay, we're good. Clean fluid is flowing in now, or flowing out rather. There's a recess here, which I think you're supposed to do this and kind of put it, insert it sideways so that it goes in and, you know, doesn't drip back out of the hole. And then just start the pump. Oh shit, nope. It's flowing incorrectly. Well, a little bit is dripping out, not much. It's not all of the fluid. Okay. First bottle is done, but why is it dripping from here? Maybe the angle is not big enough. Or maybe I need a smaller tube to go in there. But that was a pretty quick way to insert one liter of fluid in there. I think it was mostly successful. Some of it dripped out, but the majority of it went in successfully. Okay, I'm gonna put in the second bottle and try. Oh, second bottle is done. Okay, third bottle. Okay, I wasn't looking, but I guess it overflew. Alright, so now I'm going to take this out, put the plug in, and try to, basically start the car, warm up the transmission, and then put in the others as much as it takes. I don't have a way to check the transmission temperature, but I guess I can test the oil pan by hand, and right now it's very cold. Well, some of the instructions say to keep adding fluid while the engine is running, so I guess I'll do that. Alright, put the hose back in. And start the pump. It's a bit warmer now, not much, but yeah, it's a bit warmer, and it's taking more fluid, so yeah. Let's hope I have enough fluid. Well, I was afraid of that. I ran out of fluid. I put in 7 liters, and of course I lost some of it in drips and stuff, but yeah, I ran out of fluid and it's still not overflowing, so I need to leave that for tomorrow. It's a little bit warm here now. I'll put the plug back in. I guess I'll start the engine tomorrow and let it warm up a little bit before I start putting fresh fluid in. Otherwise, I'm afraid that it might spill out as I remove this fill plug. Alright, it's the next day now. I got 2 more liters of transmission fluid. I'm going to open up this plug now, hopefully it won't leak out. And then I'm going to fill up again until it overflows. Okay. Okay, this doesn't make any sense. It took... Oh wait, the O-ring is here. Crap. Okay, I need to close this thing. Oh no, I need to find the O-ring first. Oh no. Okay, let me close it. I shouldn't have stopped the engine. Ah, how stupid of me. Shouldn't have stopped the engine. With the engine running, it has a higher level. So, I need to start the engine again. Take the plug out. Put the O-ring, the washer, the copper washer, back in. And then screw it in. Okay. Okay. Put the washer on and slide it back in. Okay. I just want to tighten it a little now, just so it doesn't drip out overnight. It's not going to be super tight. Okay, attempt number 3 to put the oil in this car, in the transmission. It's been running for a few minutes now, so presumably this thing is reasonably warm. Okay. Goes back in and start the pump. Let's see what happens. I'm expecting a huge overflow when it's actually full. So far it's just been dripping a little. What? It ran out again. You've got to be kidding me. This is the 10th liter I've put in. 10. And it's still not full. Okay, the 4th attempt now. We got 2 more liters of this thing, and that better be sufficient because, I mean, I've been told 7 liters and so far it's taken 10. And this is going to be the 11th and 12th liter. So, I mean, I did spill some of it and all that, but I can't have lost more than 1 liter. Anyway, I'm going to start the engine, let it warm up a little bit, let it circulate, drive it through the gears, open up the fill plug and fill up until it starts spewing out. So, let's see what happens. Okay, let's do this one more time. Okay, the washer is on here. This is good. That's what I was expecting. This kind of significant leakage. Alright, now it's full. Good. Okay, finally. Took about 11.5 liters, guys. Be good enough. Well, after making all this mess and waiting for multiple days, buying additional top-up oil for the transmission, let's see if this thing actually runs. Look at the mess I made here. I'm gonna clean that up after I move the car, but yeah, let's see what happens when I start driving. Does it actually work? And don't worry about the Getriebe not program thing. That happens every time I start the engine because of missing lock solenoid here in the shift lever. So reverse. I'm gonna turn off this thing so I can hear noises. Okay, car's moving. Move it a little forward just to check. Behaves properly, behaves normally so far. The real test coming up the ramp. Let's see. Feels very smooth actually. I would say smoother than before, especially in cold weather, but that's just from one start. Let's see how it goes in the street. Oh, this car is very maneuverable. I can barely not make this turn without going back and forth. Okay. Okay, shifted into second. Okay, seems fine so far. Let's reverse. Reverse looks fine as well. Okay, so far it seems fine, but I can't really tell just from this small drive here. I'll have to put on the plates and take it for a proper test drive, including higher speeds. Okay, I drove the car, tested it in various conditions, including cold weather, cold starts, going uphill, going downhill, all of that, and it seems fine. The transmission seems to shift fine. It stays in lower gear for a little bit longer when it's very cold, but that's normal. That's how it works. So I think it's confirmed. The transmission is working fine, and we can move on to the next phase of the project, which is to change the engine. So that's what I'm going to be working on in the next episode, and I'll show you exactly how I prepare the new engine and then how I install it in this car, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the stuff for this project. But the most important one is the engine. So stay tuned for more, subscribe, like the video, all of that. I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching. Until next time.